the idea that you can have both communists and anarcho-capitalists are wrong for the very same reason, albeit they come at it from a different perspective. You're always going to have hierarchy and order. That's actually something called emergent order. It's based on two realities: the law of unequal growth and the law of demand. The law of unequal growth says that each actor, because of its own inherent capabilities, grows at different rates than other actors in this system. And the law of demand says the larger the actor gets, by definition, more demand it makes on the system. So the issue isn't between order or no order. The issue is what type of order exists, right? And so to push back against the false moral flattening that exists, there was order under the Shah. That is night and day. The Shah's bold attempt at bringing Iran from its feudal-esque nature to what would be defined at the time as tolerant modernity is night and day different than the horrific crap that came after the Shah as it's represented by the mullahs. As far as like capitalism is concerned, very good system in most things. That being said, I'm going to tighten this shot group. It's true that the founding fathers of the United States very much supported capitalism. The United States was based on the jealous celebration of the value of the individual. You see it enshrined in all of our founding documents, provided it was also informed by Kantian enlightened self interest, right? And that's where again, it's what type of order exists. Even in a capitalist system, centers of gravity arise. So the question is, what kind of order do you want? Do you want one that's like horrible as it's represented by like Nazism or the Soviet Union or the Mullah regime? Or do you want it represented by something like the United States or the Shah or South Korea, right?
Well,
All right.
personally, I think we have to look towards our imagination to come up with a system that consolidates all these systems that have been beneficial to humanity and consolidates it into a system that can work universally in most countries. But it's an idea, it's nothing substantial yet. So that's my take.
Before we go to the next person, I really appreciate Danny. It's really hard to track who's doing what and who wants to add a point and what people are saying in the chat. I think he's missing on the conversation because he's just modding. So I really am feel bad. Thank you so much, Danny, by the way. Oh, I saw Rebecca raise.
I appreciate your
Thank you.
appreciation.
Oh.
Sammy is next.
So by the way, when I was talking, Rebecca raised her hand in case you don't see. Sammy.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions. I don't know whether you guys know Patrick Bet David. He's an Irani-born American businessman, and I don't know why you don't like him, but he's very close to the Trump administration, and
I don't. It's not that I don't like him. I hate him.
says things that make sense to everybody, and
He's
I believe.
retarded.
Yeah, and so what his opinion is that the son of Reza Shah Pahlavi is not a competent leader. He believes that anybody who Donald Trump has the power to dethrone Khamenei, and if Reza Pahlavi really wants that to happen, he should have some kind of contact. What do you think about it? Kindly tell that. And if not, then what? The second question I have is what would be the effect of liberalization of Iran from Islam have in countries like Jordan or Iraq? Yeah, that's two questions I would like you to answer,
All
Mr.
right.
Anand.
So first of all, let's for Patrick Bet David, let's look at his record, right?
Yeah.
He once said that he doesn't understand why Prince Reza Pahlavi, when we had the elections in Iran, the election for president, he said he doesn't understand why Prince Reza Pahlavi just doesn't go to Iran and participate in the election for president. Do you understand that somebody who says something like that is basically loses all credibility for having any opinion
No, but
regarding politics
yeah,
in Iran? Well, okay. No, let me go through the points that I'm trying to make. Okay. Also, please understand, the reason why he had Prince Reza Pahlavi on his show, and he was like really like admiring him and everything. And he turned against Prince Reza Pahlavi once Prince Reza Pahlavi was not coming on his show anymore, right? And he actually even admitted that multiple times, like he's not answering my calls. And the reason why he turned against Prince Reza Pahlavi was because he was not getting a response anymore for Prince Reza Pahlavi. So he got upset, he got jealous. Another thing to show his credibility, that in one of his shows when he was basically demonstrating how Prince Reza Pahlavi is not fit, he showed a poll. I don't know, I think it was on Polymarket, showing to show that the people who are betting, they don't really take Prince Reza Pahlavi seriously. Jason, I'm seeing, hearing echo. So they're not taking Prince Reza Pahlavi seriously. So he showed a poll where the question was, who is the next supreme leader of Iran? And he showed that Prince Reza Pahlavi is not even on the list. And he says, like, look, Prince Reza Pahlavi is so not a serious candidate that he's not on the list of this Polymarket question. And I hope you understand how retarded that is. The question was, who's the next supreme leader of Iran? Supreme leader meaning like an ayatollah, like a mujtahid, okay? And he also said that, oh, it's actually interesting that, what's her name? What's that woman's name? The one that got a Nobel Peace Prize.
An activist, I believe.
Narges Mohammadi. Narges Mohammadi, right? He was like, oh, Narges Mohammadi is not on the list as well. Wow. Okay, so he was wondering, like, oh, so maybe Nargis Mohammadi was not a serious candidate as well. Nargis Mohammadi is a woman. She wouldn't be on a list of people for the supreme fucking leader. So this is how retarded Patrick Bet-David is. Yeah, Muhammad. Yeah, I could tell you, Prince Reza Pahlavi is not going to be the supreme leader of Iran. He's not going to be the supreme leader of anything. We're ending the idea of supreme leader, and only mujtahids, ayatollahs could be supreme leader. So that's why he was not on the list. But he was showing that on his show as a way to demonstrate how unserious he is, that people are not taking him seriously. That shows that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and also shows that nobody on his team knows what they're talking about as well. So it's one thing for him to look at that poll and not understand this poll is not good evidence for his point, but it's another thing for his entire research team looking at this and giving it to him, and nobody on his team told him that this is actually a retarded point. That is actually very impressive that nobody told him that, right? So, and also, last point is that the Iranian people in the streets are fighting with their lives, shouting Prince Reza Pahlavi's name. There is not a single other name that is being even suggested. It's not like Prince Reza Pahlavi and then somebody else that is less qualified. Prince Reza Pahlavi, it's wrong to say Prince Reza Pahlavi is the best alternative, because to say that suggests that there are other alternatives. There is no other alternative. They don't even exist. And Patrick Bet-David doesn't understand this. He's also betraying Iranian people. Iranian people in the streets of Iran are dying just to be able to shout out his name. And by being against Prince Reza Pahlavi, you're basically standing against what the Iranian people are fighting for and what they're dying for. Does that answer your question, Sammy?
Yeah, so there were two questions to the response. For the first question, I would say he always brings the topic of Iran in his podcast. He's been doing so for a very long time, I believe. And yeah, it's very retarded of him to say who would be the next supreme leader of Iran. And that's why I asked the question, if not Reza Pahlavi, then who? Then what? The second question I asked was, what would be the liberalization of Iran from Islam would lead to, and how would it benefit countries like Jordan and Iraq?
For Jordan and Iraq, first of all, you're not going to have the Islamic Republic trying to destabilize those countries. That's a huge benefit, right? Jordan doesn't have to worry about the Islamic Republic sending in its agents try to topple the regime. The Iraqis will not get the Hashd Shabi being funded in their own country, having a part like a Shia terrorist group running their politics. I mean, that would still be there, unfortunately, but at least it wouldn't be funded by Iranian gas and Iranian oil. So that's going to be a huge benefit. And when it comes to the Islam itself, I think that a lot of people, in the same way that the 1979 Islamic Revolution caused Islamization all around the region, both Shia and Sunni. So I would expect that the secularization of Iran will basically have the very opposite effect in a similar way, right? Because like the Islamization of not just the Middle East, but also Afghanistan and Pakistan and Indonesia and Malaysia, it was all tied to, and also North Africa, it all became amplified because of the 1979 Islamic Revolution. So, if the Islamization of Iran could have that much of an impact all around the region, I think that the secular, especially because I think the Iranian people are going to go for, they're not going to, just in the same way that the Islamists were not content to spread Islamism within the borders of Iran. I think Iranian people, given how much this Islamization came from outside, and also because a lot of these Islamists came from beyond our borders to come kill Iranian people, I think just in the same way that Jews were not content with just having Israel after World War II and they went around the world hunting down Nazis, I think the Iranian people are going to also not be content with just secularizing Iran, and they're going to go out for revenge, finding their killers all around the world to not just kill their killers, but also to annihilate Islam. I think that we're going to be on a mission to spread secularization and anti Islamism, not just within Iran, but also beyond our borders. So I think you should get ready for a force to be reckoned with. I think you're going to create basically as a it's an anti-Islamic dragon waiting to be awakened to come be unleashed upon the world.
So you feel that there would be a fall of theocratic societies when Iran would be liberalized?
Well, I don't know how successful we're going to be. So you could, but I know we're going to go to war.
Yeah. Thank you. That was my question.
Okay.
Right. Next, I will call up Jeffrey. He doesn't. Okay, he's back.
Oh, here it is.
I answered what I was going to say, so take the next guy.
All right. So we have our first Eric. That's Eric Sharifi.
Eric.
Yes, I'm
Eric
here.
Sharif.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to add to the points about doing research about Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. And, AI is pre-filtered based on opinions on other people, and so is Google searches. It usually index other people's opinions, not like facts or stuff like that. Okay, maybe facts, but it's mostly news articles and so on. So I just wanted to say that I think you should read Mohammad Reza Pahlavi's books. He has two books, Mission for My Country and Toward the Great Civilization. Those basically outlines his plan for Iran and the way he wanted to move Iran away from oil and to venture into other industries. They are free to borrow on archive.org, and I think they will be a really good view for most people. That's what I have to say.
Let me add to that. Muhammad Reza Shah, before the revolution, one thing he said as a king, which made a lot of mullahs make fun of him and laugh at him, is that he wanted to invest in solar energy. And the reason, I mean, for a lot of you, that's like something normal to talk about. But when he said it, that was not normal, right? Like that was not something, especially coming from Iran that has so much oil and gas. He said that back then, this is something that even European countries in America or Canada were not saying. He was envisioning a time where people would move past oil. And he says our country cannot just be relying on oil and gas. He was thinking like really long term, like really, really long term. And he was when like he said that we should be investing in solar because we don't want our country to just be too dependent on oil and gas. The mullahs were making fun of him. They were saying Khomeini has a recording saying the idiot wants to get energy from the sun, right? Like he was making fun of him, right? But now, and even back then, the people who were supporting him didn't understand like what is he saying. Like we have so much oil and gas, and then
Yeah.
eventually, years, decades after he died, when they now see how many the countries who rely so much on oil and gas, they're at a basically they're struggling to diversify away from oil and gas. So even his supporters didn't understand how ahead of time he is.
Yeah.
Another thing that many people don't know he had as one of his programs, which was way ahead of his time, And he gave a speech about this, and he never actually he never had the time to actually execute it. He had a plan to go find all the best teachers for every subject, for every grade in Iran. So the best teacher for math for grade 5, for example, in Iran, the best teacher for grade 8 for high school, for example, in chemistry in Iran. Find all of them, the best of the best, and then record them teaching every subject. And then he wanted to then play those recordings 24/7 on satellite TV free across the country. That was the plan that he had that actually never actually was enforced because of the Islamic Revolution. But that was
Yeah.
the plan he actually announced at some point that he's going to try to do.
Yeah. And also about the diversification, you could add to that. In the 50s, the GDP from oil was 90%. In 1978, it was 35%. So
Mm,
even in those short, like 30 years span, he was able to diversify it, and he would probably do it even more moving into the 80s. So.
amazing.
There were plans for 3 nuclear plants.
All right, let's go to the next.
So next we have the other Eric, but he's no longer in the call. So we're gonna go to Rebecca Barsef.
I was
You're
just
muted. There you go.
I unfortunately was dozing off in the last speech, so I'm sorry. But I did write down to myself, you guys were talking about what your identity is composed of, and you were between individual, what is your individual needs and things I don't want to misquote it versus a community, but I want to suggest an alternative, and that is circles of responsibility. And I would, for example, say I'm responsible for myself, and there is also the role that I take in the world, right? That actually describes the responsibility I have, and then responsibility for my culture, my nation. But I also want to say, here is why circles of responsibility are interesting, because, for example, Armin here, who is a fellow creator, I would say I probably have the same amount of responsibility of, or even more to him than I do to a fellow countryman, because you have different communities you belong to as well. You have different circles of responsibility. Your role and your position as a doctor, you might be actually more responsible to the in a certain ways to the doctor community or things like that that are international, also as a researcher. So there are circles of responsibility that you have, and I think your identity is composed of all of them. And I think first and foremost, your responsibility is towards yourself, and then your family, and so on.
Yeah, I just want to add, even when you have a responsibility to others, that's a responsibility to yourself. Because the best way to get a sense of fulfillment for yourself is in the serve of other people. So even when you're serving your country, your patients, your students, your viewers, at the end of the day, you're serving yourself, because the highest amount of satisfaction and fulfillment one could feel individually as an individual is in the service of other people. So at the end of the day, it comes back to you.
Exactly. So just as a fellow creator, I give you some stuff sometime, you give me stuff sometime. I guess it makes sense.
Yes.
But you ignored my water warning. I talked to
Water
an
warning.
Iranian analyst on
Oh,
Tuesday, that is the biggest one in Israel, and we both agreed that this genocide was it was gonna happen anyway, in the summer.
so I didn't ignore you. If Rebecca, if you see my phone, you will cry for me. Okay. If you
No, a
see
year ago,
the number
a
of
year ago.
notifications I get on my phone, you will you will
Not
feel
now.
like
Now
you
you
say this poor.
ignore me, but a
Yeah.
year ago.
Yet I did not ignore you. Promise you. I promise I did not ignore you. Okay. I'm gonna have a hard time. I need to hire a secretary to manage my messages. All right, but I'm glad. Here's the thing: now that you're here, I can never ignore you because you come. This is the best way to talk to me. You're
No,
here, and I can listen to you.
find somebody
Yeah.
and make them talk to you is go to into their house.
Yes. Okay. See, I don't ignore people. If they want to talk to me, they just come here, and you could talk to me here. There you go. All right. Okay. Move. Let's
Uh,
next person.
Next person is Al Ace.
Who? Oh,
That's me.
okay.
Hi, Armin. This question's for you. I apologize if this has come up in the past, but I was curious because Susie said something yesterday that kind of triggered this idea that in the off chance that after the 100-day plan, the people indeed maybe reject the constitutional monarchy and just go for republic, what do you think would happen with Reza Pahlavi? Would he actually try to become a politician and run for office, or would he just kind of fade off into the sunset, or what do you think?
Whatever the result of the referendum is, we're going to accept that, right? I have a hard time seeing how it could be anything other than a monarchy because I think, given how people are happy regarding Pahlavi, I think that is going to make even people who didn't want to vote for monarchy to vote for monarchy, right? Like, I think, like, imagine the Islamic Republic has fallen and the people have managed to succeed by shouting the name Pahlavi. Jason, don't open your mic because I'm hearing a lot of background when you do. Just raise your hand and you're going to be added to the list. But in that environment, I think that there's so much, I don't know what it's called, jubilation and happiness and celebration for the return of Pahlavi that nobody, I think, like, many people are going to, even people who think right now they're anti-monarchists, I think in that environment, they're going to be like voting for monarchy while crying, like from happiness. But again, what we have is many Republicans have agreed that if monarchy is chosen and if people vote for monarchy, they're going to accept monarchy. And the vast majority of monarchists have also accepted that if people vote for a republic without a monarch, they're going to accept the result of the referendum, especially given that Prince Reza Pahlavi himself is going to be there. And if anybody wants to say, like, oh, no, they tricked us, this was a conspiracy, they didn't count it well, Prince Reza Pahlavi is going to be the sound of reason. If he comes and notices that this was a fair and transparent elections, he's going to say, like, yep, this is the result, we have to accept it. Everybody, most people will accept what Prince Reza Pahlavi says, right? Here's the thing: when it comes to what Prince Reza Pahlavi would do, honestly, if you have been following Prince Reza Pahlavi for the past, couple of years, you will notice that if it was up to him, he wouldn't even be king, right? He has been every position he has been taken. People have been begging him for years until he finally gave in every single time. Like right now, even the position he has as the leader of the revolution and the leader of the transition period, this has been worked on for years before he finally said okay, right? So if he becomes king, is because people were begging him to do it. If he becomes any form of other politician, is because people were begging him. For example, when people were asking him that he needs to be the leader, he was insisting on, we don't need like a leader, maybe. And people are like, we want you to be the leader. And then eventually he was like, maybe we could have a council of leaders instead of having one leader. It took years and years and years of eventually telling him that, no, we want you to be the leader until he accepted. So he never, it's not like he ever came forward himself and said, like, oh, make me the leader. People have been dragged and that's why, like, if you're asking what is if he's going to go away if Iran doesn't become a monarchy, well, not if the Iranian people, he does things that he doesn't want to do just because many Iranian people are asking him to do it. So if Iranian people want him to, like, serve as a prime minister, if he doesn't become a king, then he's probably going to serve as a prime minister because so many Iranians are asking for it. And that is basically very similar to him becoming a king because he's not asking to be a king. He doesn't even want to be a king. If he ever wants to be a king, it's because we basically forced him to be. There was a leaked audio of him that one time he was telling the people around him that, like, I also have like rights, right? Like, you guys, like, everybody wants me to take these positions, and like nobody is, basically his choices are completely being ignored. Like, one time he also said, like, you guys know that I'm getting past the age of retirement, right? Based on all the things we know about him, we know that he doesn't want power. He's not hungry for power. If he was working for his best interest, he would just go home and live a comfortable life, and everything he's doing is because the Iranian people want him to help. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Way more than I thought. I mean, I also just want to say I appreciate I didn't know that much about how he came into that role. I've been following your channel for a little while now because after October 7th, you covered a lot of the topics there, and I want to thank you for that as a Jewish person as well. And Javed Shah, thank you. Thank you. I mean,
But well, let me just add one more thing before we move on to other people. I just want to tell people that, for a lot of people, power and fame looks very attractive, right? But for a lot of people who've experienced it, it might not seem as attractive as it might seem to you, especially to the Pahlavi dynasty. Prince Reza Pahlavi, the way his father died and the way his father was treated at the end of his life was one thing, but both his brother and sister committed suicide after the Islamic Revolution. So Prince Reza Pahlavi's brother and sister committed suicide. So this family has seen nothing, they had no positive experience for being in power. No positive experience. So like imagine all of that being your experience with your family being royalty and being in politics. So I personally, I wouldn't be too eager to go back into all of that, especially given that I have daughters that I love that I will be putting at risk by being involved in all of this. Like I would, if it was me and I was basically thinking about my own family, I would basically stay as far as I could from all of this.
I think Rebecca and then Michael wanted to add a short comment.
No,
Oh, no. Maybe you wanted to talk about this or be added to the list. Back to the list.
I think I had a question before and then it just went on and I just forgot about it. But
Okay, that's okay.
yeah.
No worries. All right, Michael.
Yeah. So I just want to add a quick little comment here. So basically, there's some people that having a monarchy, a constitutional monarchy, for many Americans might seem foreign because, in the beginning of the founding of this nation, we fought against the monarchy, right, to basically not have it. But you look at other countries, for example, good examples like Spain. Like when Franco died, he handed the power over to King Juan Carlos I, and when he actually got into power, he actually turned Spain into a democracy, what we know today. And you look at, for example, countries like China, which is supposedly a democratic people's republic. You can argue that China is basically a dynastical monarchy, but with a communist flag in it. That's what it technically is. That's what I wanted to add.
All right.
Yeah, I remembered.
Okay.
I just
Good.
wanted to ask you, right? You watch this Japanese style anime,
Yes.
which I'm very curious whether it was done by Japanese speakers or if it's AI, like AI
I don't
Japanese.
know.
But so there is a scene there with Netanyahu and Pahlavi, and I was kind of wondering, like, you didn't react on the fact that it looked like that they tried to hint there that he's being up,
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying,
I didn't want to highlight it because Goldie was like really enjoying it and don't want to ruin that moment,
right?
But I
What do you
didn't
think
that
of
part at
that?
all. I was bullshit. I think the Iranian people have been like, it completely dismisses the agency of the Iranian people. And I think that if Israel and America are now becoming more pro-Pahlavi, is because they're realizing that the Iranian people are not going to accept anything else but Pahlavi. And basically, they're accepting the will of the Iranian people. It's not the other way around. Israel and the United States are not forcing Pahlavi on Iranian people. Iranian people have effectively shown to Israel and the United States that there is no option but Pahlavi. It's the other way
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
I mean, Israel started pro Pahlavi and it got a lot of backlash for it. So it like it went to, okay, we're not gonna endorse anyone kind of policy.
Yeah.
And
Originally,
then
Israel was actually focusing on Kurdish separatists and the MEK, and I understand why they did that, because at that time those were the most organized anti-Islamic Republic groups, and
I mean, we
Pahlavi was
still do
not.
that. It's just different hands.
Yeah, but I think
But
they're
not
not doing that as
MEK.
much anymore. I think everybody understands that MEK and the Kurdish separatists
No,
supporting them is
MEK
against the interests of
definitely not.
Israel, because it will basically
Yeah.
risk it would risk the friendship that we could have with Israel, right, in the future. And I think that now that Pahlavi has proven to be a force to be reckoned with, Israel doesn't have to use those other options against the Islamic Republic, because we already have a much better option.
Well,
Because those,
the thing is, it was like it wasn't that like it was ever like it. You can think of them as somebody who could take over anything. You just needed people who would carry guns and be mercenaries,
yeah, I
and
understand that.
that they could have played there, but they were. I'm just gonna not say anything actually.
No, no, I understand. I understand Israel, that Israel is not there to serve the Iranian people. Israel's
No, it
government
was
is there.
for the Iranian people. The assumption was that even if they are the ones like that get the support, they're not gonna get. They won't be able to actually take over or separate. Right? The assumption was as like that
Yeah, I
they would be
understand.
the
Okay,
ones that
that makes
fighting
sense.
in the street right now against the IRGC.
That makes
Foot
sense.
soldiers.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
but
understand.
like I'm sorry, it's
I
like a bit brutal to say how those things work. Just because you work with someone, it doesn't
I
mean that
understand.
you know.
Yeah, it's like basically, for example, United States sometimes actually even worked with some ISIS members to kill Al Qaeda members sometimes.